Man, we got this executive producer by the name of Miss Victoria Alonso. She has literally been part of the company since its inception. Before Iron Man came out in 2008, in 2006, if my math is correct, that's about 17 years right there. She has had her hand in the kitchen, in the pot, in the oven in some way, shape, or form for nearly 2 decades. And all of a sudden, she on the red carpet doing this and doing that, and then bam, a few days ago, earlier this week, she is fired. And everybody's trying to figure out why. Like, what the hell is going on? And so this is topic number 8 right here, coming from Variety. Inside Victoria Alonso's shocking exit from Marvel Studios. This is what the woman looks like right here. Let's get into this. The veteran Marvel Studios executive and producer of the nominated film Argentina 1985 was stopped on the red carpet posing for photographers assigned to capture top executives on Hollywood's big night. But something shocked her. Looking at these 2 women, also, she said, basically right here, we've worked hard to get here and we're not going anywhere. This is a passion project film for her that she was really excited about, and she was on the red carpet for that. 8 days later, she was fired as Marvel's president of physical production, post-production, visual effects, and animation. 3 individuals familiar with the matter told Variety the shakeup came as a surprise to many in the show business, and within the vast Marvel comic book fandom, a community with a prominent online presence and an in-person significance at many multiplexes where the studio releases films. Alonso's dismissal has raised numerous questions about behind-the-scenes working at the prize content engine, and with them, another unfavorable news cycle as Disney CEO Bob Iger attempts to stabilize his parent company amid economic unrest. While the cause of Alonso's termination is unclear, the sources said the decision was made by a consortium including human resources, HR, Disney's legal department, and multiple executives, including Disney Entertainment co-chairman Alan Bergman, to whom all of Marvel Studio reports. Alonso's longtime boss and Marvel Chief Executive Officer Kevin Feige felt mired in an impossible situation and ultimately did not intervene. I don't know what he could have anyway, but we're going to talk about it. One source added, Alonso was blindsided, another insider added. And as I said earlier, Alonso joined Marvel Studios in 2016 before it was bought out by Disney for $4 billion. Over 17 years, and has been a fixture under the chief creative officer, Kevin Feige, standing beside Feige's right hand and co-president, Louis Esposito. All these names are the biggest people at Marvel right now. Simultaneously, she's working to become a brand of her own. She's a rare openly LGBTQ person, a woman of color, and in visible leadership roles known for her fiery passion and outspoken over diversity and inclusion in Marvel storytelling. And again, guys, there's so much to this. I don't want to just read forever, but she had to do 17 titles in 23 months in the past 2 years, in 2021 and 2022. That is a lot for anybody. Eman, I'm going to come to you first, sir. What do you make about all this, man? And of course, I know there's other details that we haven't got into, but just for now, like what was you thinking? What do you think is going on with this?
So first and foremost, and I'll try and give a summation so I don't take too much time. I don't trust a lot of this information just because of how it's coming out. It has been brought to my attention that a lot of times, if you notice, you didn't get one official statement from Disney. This came from insiders. And a lot of times, I'm not saying what they're saying is wrong. What I'm saying is there's usually a purpose. There's a reason why these insiders just so happen to get this side of the story. And it's really one-sided if you think about it. Not one of these insiders came out and said, yo, this is what Alonso's side of the story was. You maybe get like one little line here that says, hey, she had permission. She was cool. But most of this sounds like Disney rhetoric. And I understand that because sometimes you want to shape the story first. And I would point people to look at the ScarJo situation during the pandemic. We had a whole bunch of insiders coming out and talking about how ScarJo was such a terrible person and she hated kids and all of this. Why? Because she couldn't get the money that was in her contract because, you know, they put Black Widow on streaming. So for me, because I've seen this already from this same company, I'm a little suspect. Not saying it's not true. I'm just saying I'm not going to take all of it just wholeheartedly, you know, all the way at once. But the other thing to kind of add on to all this is I do think that there's more to the story. I do think we need to hear more from Alonso's side. I would just point out the fact that Disney just cut 7,000 jobs. That's when Bob Iger came back. They also lost their tax exempt status thanks to that whole don't say gay bill with DeSantis in Florida and all that, which means you got to pay for that. That means you can't just be running your theme park for free no more like you were before, you know, not paying taxes. So it makes sense that, like, yo, when you have to do budget cuts anywhere in the corporate world, what do? You lay off people and you get rid of top executives, because while you read earlier that she's been in charge of all these titles, she was doing the job of like multiple people, but she was probably also being paid a lot because she's been there since the jump. So it does make sense to get rid of her, because for her salary, you can get like a whole bunch of minions to do those jobs for a lot cheaper rate. And again, start paying that new tax bill that, by the way, she was the loudest proponent against the whole don't say gay bill thing. So she's ruffled some feathers with the GOP and all of that. So there's some political element. And, you know, maybe she's just the scapegoat.
You're muted, B.
Thank you, Eman. Well said. I appreciate that. We got a super chat real quick. I have more of the article, and then I'm gonna come to Lamont. Jojo, Eman dressed like he about to sea walk. Man, I love it. Also, Brandon, bro, that new growth whooping your tail. Yeah, it is. Live games looking like Five Dog from Tribe Quest. Right on, right on, right on.
How you gonna pay to get roasted? How does this work?
Yo, point
he done sent in a few. Thank you, Jojo. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's a lot here. Starting on Reddit, followed by a series of stories published across the internet, visual effects artists began to loudly complain about Marvel's demanding post-production schedules. And we've heard that months ago. Complaints range from unrelenting overtime to chronic understaffing to the inability to avoid delivery substandard work due to constantly changing deadlines. Some singled out Alonso as being a kingmaker who would blacklist artists who have pissed her off in any way. One visual effects artist recently told Variety that the biggest issue for them was Marvel's inability to provide clear guidelines. The show I was on really struggled because it was an established character whose powers they were reconceiving for the MCU, the artist said on the condition of anonymity. Most complaints, they said, came down to one refrain: Marvel doesn't figure shit out beforehand. Damn, that's the first time I heard that quote. A different senior VFX artist threw cold water on the idea that Alonso would single out individual artists. The idea of a very senior exec terrifying rank and file artist personal reports feels a bit off, they told Variety. Above the line, 3 different up-and-coming Marvel actors agreed that Alonso was only supportive force on set. She was the epitome of professional and knows her stuff, said one former Disney executive. Still drumbeat that something rotten in the state of Marvel only grew louder with the release of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a film that finished shooting over a year before it was due in theaters and still weathered repeated criticism for generic visual effects that looked like CGI glop and were very flat and cruddy looking. Even more critical, the movie had grossed $463 million globally, the worst performance of an Ant-Man franchise, and they figured that means that it will struggle to break even in a theatrical window. That's the wrong trajectory. That's crazy. And guys, that link is in the description. But I want to read this from Chris Lee on Twitter. He said, I'm trying to make this bigger. So many VFX sources have told me Victoria Alonso was singularly responsible for Marvel's toxic work environment, a kingmaker who awarded unquestioning fealty with an avalanche of work, but who also maintained the blacklist that kept visual effects production wild-eyed with fears. She held a crazy amount of power, bigfooting all major creative decisions on Marvel's and Marvel movies and shows. Kevin Feige and Victoria Alonso personally approved every single shot, all the visual effects work, which is usually the job of a director or a showrunner, one tech told me. The main one that everyone quite scared of Victoria Alonso, another tech said, if she likes you, you're going to get work and you're going to move up in the industry. If you have pissed her off in any way, you're going to get frozen out. That is wild. Lamont, I'm coming to you, sir. What do you think about all of this, sir? What do you think?
I'm going to agree with Eman. We need to get a statement, not just from her, but we also need to get a statement from Disney so that we can try to find the middle ground. I'm coming to you guys with a lot of rumor mill stuff that I know that's been going on behind the scenes. And here's what's been going on behind the scenes. The old Bob is gone. Guess who was a good, close personal friend of the old Bob? This chick right here. The old Bob was willing to go tooth and nail to the bat against the political machine that was trying to take down Disney. This Bob ain't. This Bob wants to get along, to get the stock numbers back up.
You're gonna have to use the other now. I'm confused with the old, because you know the old Bob came back and now he's the old.
The old Bob is the new Bob.
He the old new Bob, and then new Bob is the old Bob. I need to know which Bob we talking about now.
Let me stop bobbing and weaving, okay? So there's a Bob Iger, there's a Bob Chapek. She was great friends with Chapek.
Oh, word.
She knew Iger prior, but she really rolled with Chapek. Chapek was down for all the fighting that was going on politically. And they already stated in one of these articles about her intentions and her work with the LGBT community. And she was a big person in the forefront of doing that. Having said all those things, I feel like she was on the chopping block the minute Bob Iger came back. Just because she had been such an outspoken supporter of Chapek. She was not happy when Chapek left. She was not happy with the way it seems like Bob Iger was attempting to make concessions to kind of position Disney in this kind of political fight that they were having. And E-Man went through everything Disney's going to lose. However, I will say this. It is in court right now, so they might get it back. And it's looking like they might get it back. But Marvel's last phase, I think a lot of people would say, was lackluster. Didn't do the numbers it once did. And I think that this was a great opportunity for Iger to give a backhanded compliment to her and say, you know what? It's your work that's causing you to lose this job. I'm not firing you because you rode so hard with Chapek. But I do believe in my heart of hearts, it had a lot to do with that and with her pay is what I think.
Okay. Lovely, man. Thanks for bringing me that information because I wasn't sure myself. But let me throw some more in the mix real quick before I pass to you, Larry. This article is from the Hollywood Reporter, focusing more on the Argentina 1985. And let's see what we have here. Alonso was one of the 8 producers on the Argentina historical drama, which was distributed by Amazon, not Disney, but Amazon, and competed for the Best International Feature Oscar. However, by assuming that role, she breached her contract several times, according to sources. After repeated warnings, the situation came to head that the week after the Academy Awards, which was not too long ago, and ultimately led to her termination. It was a seismic shakeup at Marvel, where for years Alonso was put on the Holy Trinity, along with Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige and President Luis Esposito, who led Marvel Cinematic Universe to even greater heights. And so, that apparently she may have breached her contract. And so, Larry, with everything that we discussed today, what Eman, Lamont said, like, what do you make of this, sir? What you think?
All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to just say it like it is.
Okay.
I think she got herself gassed up and got all her chest all puffed up, thinking she can do what she wants to do, and she forgot the rules. You know, she went up there and she was in breach of contract doing this other movie for these other studios while she's an executive for Disney. Now I don't know how their contracts work, but usually those executives don't have the freedom to go produce and make movies for other networks and other studios. If you're If you're an artist or a director, usually whoever you're under contract with has a first look deal, so they get the first right of refusal, and then you can shop it somewhere else. Executives usually don't have that privilege. You're usually locked in. And I think she probably got up there and said, Disney's not going to fire me. I'm a woman of color, I'm gay. I'm not going to get fired. I'm golden right now. And she forgot that she's a woman and a woman of color and gay. Those are all the trifecta that generally the old white boys club need to get rid of your monkey ass. And they got rid of her. Now, I will say that as far as some of the other stuff that was going on with her, you know, with all the constant changes in the VFX part, you know, the complaints of people saying Marvel didn't have the direction that it needed when it came to the effects. I was feeling like at first when I read this, I was like, that's not really cool. But Marvel should be a little bit more on their game than that. But then you read the bottom line there where it says that her portfolio was so expansive that it's likely going to take several people to fill her role. And I thought to myself, well, that's kind of what people of color have had to do always, is do the jobs of multiple people so that they can show their value and get in the door and allowed to be able to even have the jobs that they have. But at the same time, it's entirely unfair because you can't always do the job of multiple people. Sometimes you do need those other people. And I think it'd be unfair to say, well, we had to get rid of her because she wasn't doing her job. But since we got rid of her, now we've hired 4 other people to do the job that she was doing by herself. To me, that's entirely unfair. If it is the work that was the issue, then they should have simply removed some of her responsibilities and passed them on to some other people and let her stay and do her primary job.
Oh man, I got you. Well said, sir.
And I know some people are gonna like it, but the whole gay thing, woman thing, person of color thing, it can be a benefit, it could be a blessing and a curse, but when it comes down to keeping your job, you have to remember you are all of those things. You can't play on those things to keep your job. You might be able to play on them to help you get a job, but you can't play on them to keep your job, because that will most likely get you out the door first.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was trying to read something. How I feel about this, I don't know, man. It's so much. One thing, you know, she's a horrible boss and people want to jump off the ship. Another thing, she's breaching contract. And the whole gay thing, I mean, it could be anything. I just really don't know. We're just gonna have to see. But I know this sucks.
I will say this.
Hold on, bro. Hold on. I know Kevin Feige is quite upset. And what I want to ask next is, Lamont, I'm gonna come to you first. Like, how would you proceed? You know, of course, she's gonna have to be replaced. Do you think that one person is gonna come in and redo and you know, take on all of her responsibilities? Or do you think it would be wise to split that among 2 or 3 people? And, you know, so that, you know, Marvel is not spread so thin, because in 2 years, they did release in 23 months, they released 17 titles, like 7 movies, 8 Disney Plus shows, and 2 TV specials. And, you know, there's a lot of complaints about it. They're not reaching their full potential. So something 17 titles, it'd be different if it was 5. But 17, that's a lot. So how, and she had a hell of a lot of responsibility. So if you was Iger, you know, would you just bring in one person or a team of people to fulfill her role?
I'm going to bring in the best, most talented team to fulfill that role, because when you start putting too many things on one person's plate, something's got to give. And we're all sitting here talking about how the last phase, it felt like something gave, and that giving could have been part of her responsibility. And who knows the other little jobs this woman had to do alongside what her main responsibility was. And I think that her working on a side deal was kind of like her saying, you know what, I'm really done with this. I'm going to make you do something to take action against me. And if I'm Bob Iger, I want to go get the best people to put in that place so that this job doesn't have to wear thin on one individual who might want to go turncoat quicker than what she did. She stuck by the company from 2006, basically. I'm going to say this kind of behavior that we're getting from her, this started festering in her brain probably right when they heard the news that the new Bob Iger was coming back. So I think that it would be best to get a good team to fulfill all the roles they need to make these movies more quality, which Iger has said that's what he wants to do.
Already. What am I doing with the screen? Eman, coming to you, like same question. And also, do you think there's gonna be a lawsuit against Marvel from Alonso and team? Or does that even make sense?
No, absolutely. I mean, listen, so here's the thing. A lot of stuff ain't adding up for me. You bring in HR. That makes sense. Okay, there's an issue, right? But I need people to understand, and especially if you've worked in the corporate world, HR is not your friend. HR is there to protect the company from liability. That is their purpose. They are not there, as much as they like to act like they your friend or they're on your side. No, they're not. They're for the company. And then you bring the legal team on top of that. So my thing is this: you've been working here for 17 years or whatever as Alonso. Ain't no way you're gonna be as, I don't know, absent-minded to just do something so blatant against your contract unless, and again, this is gonna have to be something her attorneys are gonna have to prove there was maybe a verbal agreement or maybe a handshake deal or something like that, where they're like, you know what, it's all good, go ahead and do it. But then the company might come back and be like, well, we didn't have nothing in writing, so you are at fault. Things like that happen all the time, where somebody says something, but then they act like they never said it because now it puts the company, at fault, yada, yada, yada. So all I'm saying, then you also saw, I think it was the LA Times piece, Alonso's lawyer came out and was like, yo, Disney was trying to do something reprehensible and we're going to go to court. That you wouldn't even bring your lawyers, if you're Disney, into that meeting unless you knew a potential lawsuit was going to be happening. And the fact that Alonso's lawyer said that something reprehensible, she didn't want to do this reprehensible thing. They never named what it was. And in my opinion, I feel like that's just a way for them to basically be like, go ahead, pull your guns, and we got our guns too, and you're not gonna like it, because at the end of the day, Disney don't ever want to look bad at all. And if it was anything, I mean, let's say, for example, something political. If it was something like, oh, Disney wanted to, build a theme ride with Trump's face on it. I don't know, something like that, right? Like, you don't want that kind of imagery and all that stuff out there, because you know how the tabloids are going to run with it. Like, oh, so Disney's, not woke and all that. Like, it's going to
They do have a ride called the Hall of Presidents.
They do. But I'm just saying, like, whatever it is, they could have pulled it, but they didn't. They could have used the media, but they didn't. And I think ultimately this is really just going to go to settlement somewhere, some way, somehow. But yeah, the way that they're trying to like paint her as like this evil person, this terrible person. First of all, bad VFX, who cares? That didn't lose Disney a bunch of money. Y'all think them good VFX was gonna save Thor: Love and Thunder?
Nope.
Was Ant-Man gonna be saved with clearer graphics?
Nope.
That was not the problem,
Nope.
So again, I think a lot of this is more of like, we needed a scapegoat. There might be more. We don't know. But from the way it's all presented and the way I've seen Disney carry themselves before, I don't know. So I don't think it's going to be as black and white as people think.
Larry.
This is just my speculation. Could be completely off, but this is my speculation. They said in there that Kevin Feige decided not to intervene. And I think when you look at it, let's not forget, Bob Iger is not back here to run this company forever. He said he's back with a 2-year contract to find a replacement. And I think that Kevin Feige might be like, you know what? My closest competition is about to get ousted. All I have to do is simply nothing. I just have to say nothing, and she's gone. And I'm looking real good as a possible replacement. He's made them billions of dollars. He's going to continue to make them billions more. I wouldn't be surprised if he's already thrown his hat in the ring for that job. No. And she might have wanted it too. And now he doesn't have to worry about her.
Not at all.
He already embarrassed himself with picking Bob Chapek, which was a horrible choice. Universally, everyone agrees. So he's not going to make the same mistake again. Yeah. He's going to make sure that he, polishes up as nice as he can. So, to protect his legacy, or at least I hope he's.
That wouldn't work with the structure of the business anyway. Let's keep in mind, even though Marvel's big to us, it's it's like 12% of Disney and what they make. That the real money is the theme park. Why do y'all think Chapek got the job? Because he ran the theme park. That's where the money resided. So yeah, ain't no way you're gonna take a movie producer, no matter how great he's been, and say like, hey, come and run all this other stuff. Come and run ESPN. Come and run, ABC. Come and run Disney.
Hulu.
Come and run Hulu. Kevin Feige's great. He ain't God. He'll be all right.
Kevin Feige wouldn't fit that role
Not at all.
Larry. I mean, he doesn't have the personality for the boardroom. He has it for the comedic room. If you like comedy and you like, comics. And movies of that ilk, but for the boardroom, Larry, Kevin Feige wouldn't do it, and I'm a fan. He wouldn't do it.
That's not his lane.
All right.
I mean, look, Michael Jordan could be an owner, right? Michael Jordan could be an owner.
Only beer and pizza. Even you, Lamont, even if it's not your cheat day.
Today is my cheat day, by the way. I'm tearing shit up too.
Already, y'all. Final thoughts on this one before we move on? Any final thoughts?
Man, look, this is not over.
Never.
Stay tuned. I'm telling you, in the next couple weeks, it's gonna get messy. That ScarJo thing went on for like 3-4 weeks. Yeah. It was ugly too.
I will say this, and Eman was right on one area, is that HR is not your friend always.
Nope.
And anytime you work for somebody else, anytime you work for a company or someone else, be careful, because you could always lose your job.
Always,
no matter how high up on the org chart you get, you could always be fired. Even if you're the CEO, the board can still oust you. So anytime you work for someone else, be careful. You're not safe.
Already. All right, guys. Well, all y'all, thank y'all for that lovely commentary. I do appreciate it. Before